and the lack of characterization on panel, despite her notes and their actions exhibiting personalities Takeuchi wrote out, is likely a result of being rushed to make a manga, and mistreated by the anime makers.
Naoko being rushed to make her manga is no excuse for a shit product. All mangaka are rushed to make their manga. Literally all of them. Take a look at her husband's entire editorial history, why don't you? And there is no record of her being mistreated by the anime team. You just made that up. The anime team did nothing to her. Her manga editor is the one that pushed her to finish the manga, which is again what they do equally to everybody. Akira Toriyama, Masashi Kishimoto, Tite Kubo, Ichiro Oda, all of them were rushed by their editors to meet their deadlines and finish their manga. All of them handled this with varying degrees of success, but the end result of their products are what they are. Dragon Ball, Naruto, Bleach, and even One Piece have their flaws, but they were all under the same pressure, and they didn't use said pressure as an excuse for any of the faults in their work. They blamed themselves, because ultimately this is the business they have chosen. They are ultimately responsible for their stories being what they are. So do not come at me with this nonsensical narrative that Naoko Takeuchi was some innocent victim that was kidnapped and forced to make Sailor Moon by a bunch of mean old men. And so the flaws present in the manga are all their fault, not hers. That's supremely ignorant, and you need to stop talking about this subject until you do the proper research. The anime team are the ones who made entire story arcs to give Naoko the time she needed to develop her manga. How can you turn around and say they rushed or mistreated her when they literally made accommodations for her more than once? The hell are you talking about? Oh, and isn't it convenient that all the bad stuff in the manga is the result of evil men rushing her, but all the good stuff is the result of Naoko flourishing while under the same time constraints that made the bad stuff in the manga. So the mean old men rushing her made the manga bad, but only sometimes because the manga is mostly good? Meaning Naoko being rushed or not literally makes no difference because she's capable of making something good while being rushed? Also, you just agreed with me that the manga does lack characterization, so thank you for conceding that point. Being rushed to create something may be the explanation for why it is bad, and it isn't in this case, but it does not excuse its badness. It doesn't magically make the flaws go away. The flaws are still present and they're still just as bad as they were without the explanation. I am not looking for meta explanations as to why something is bad. I'm simply detailing how bad that something is. That's it. I've never been interested in piss-poor explanations intended as piss-poor excuses. Thank you. Naoko wasn't mistreated by anyone when making her manga. Being rushed to make deadlines does not constitute as mistreatment, especially when she admits herself that the other mangaka were meeting their deadlines while she was lagging behind due to her unprofessionalism and procrastination. Furthermore, it's not an excuse that suddenly makes her story's problems no longer her fault. Once again, every other mangaka in the industry, including mangaka working with the same editors and publishers as Naoko, were not mistreated. This includes other female mangaka, the likes of the incredibly famous and renowned Clamp, as well as the less famous but successful nonetheless, Megumi Tachikawa. When interviewed about the manga making process, the relationship between them and the magazine publishers, as well as their editors specifically, none of them said a single word about any degree of mistreatment. And these interviews are after they had separated from Nakayoshi and the Kodansha publishing company that they all worked under at the same time as Naoko Takeuchi. They all have nothing but positive things to say about their editors, who would have been the most constant and frequent influence on their work at the time. Naoko herself has gone on record and spoken quite fondly of her editor Fumio Osabu, going so far as to call him her partner and #1 fan and supporter of Sailor Moon. They both consider each other friends to this day and and have nothing but good things to say about each other, even if they are critical of the manga itself. Naoko had criticisms for the anime without question, but she didn't have anything negative to say about them as people or colleagues. Whenever she had opportunity to talk about the anime staff, she again had nothing but respect for them, and this respect was reflected back to her by them, despite once again them having criticisms of her work and even her creative process. In all the years after Sailor Moon's manga was completed and Naoko unofficially retired from the manga and anime industry, she has never, not once, expressed any mistreatment of any kind from the anime team nor the manga publishers she worked with. There isn't a single record of that, nor is there a single record of the people that worked with her being in any way unkind, unfair, or disrespectful towards her in any way, shape, or form. So let's be perfectly clear on this, cause I'm sick of y'all lying about these people you know next to nothing about and are judging purely because they're males adapting a female writer's story unfaithfully. It is blatantly f***ing obvious that none of you know what you're talking about when it comes to this topic. So kindly shut up, be offended all you want, but you cannot honestly believe this shit unless you legitimately do not know this woman, nor the people that worked alongside her, nor how Sailor Moon's manga was actually created, nor the manga industry itself. So please stop speaking on things you plainly know nothing about. You're not doing your precious manga any favors, and you're self-snitching in ways you can't possibly fathom. So just close your mouth and stop worrying about this behind the scenes stuff. If you had any self-awareness whatsoever on this subject, you'd be wholly embarrassed and issue the goddamn anime team a formal apology in fluent Japanese, cause you vilified a group of people who did absolutely nothing wrong simply because their genitals don't match Naoko's, and they deviated from the source material, which was a necessary evil in the first place. So they didn't have a fucking choice but to change some stuff around. And the changes they made are what made this IP you're shamelessly performing eternal fellatio on what it is. Sailor Moon wouldn't have lasted past the first arc if it wasn't for the classic anime picking up Naoko's copious amount of slack. And again, that's Naoko's editor saying that, not me. You wouldn't have gotten Chibiusa, the Outer Senshi, the Starlights, Nihilania, the Sailor Animates, Galaxia, Chibiusa, nor Sailor Cosmos had it not been for the classic anime taking the world by f***ing storm. Now kindly get to typing that apology to the anime team who made this IP the golden god you so rigorously writhe your unkempt body against. Because if it were up to Naoko, everything would have ended with the Dark Kingdom arc, and Ami would be a cyborg for some f***ing reason. Get in touch with some goddamn class and beg every single man involved in this IP for their forgiveness, and maybe you'll have earned your way back from this ghastly display of yours.
The best version of the Dark Kingdom story is probably the live-action adaptation that Takeuchi was able to influence without the sexism
Bitch, the door.
and overkill comedy the men making the old anime inserted.
That's your opinion and you're welcome to it, but you don't get to claim that the 90s anime was sexist, cause it wasn't. Any instance of misogyny is attributed to the villains, and they are portrayed as 100% evil and deserving of defeat. Then they are defeated. I have no idea how anyone can think Sailor Moon, any version of it, supports sexism. It just flatly doesn't. I can confidently say in all versions of the story, men and women are given equal respect, development, and attention, and gender is not a characteristic that factors too much one way or the other in the actual writing. They are simply characters who just so happen to be either male or female. Or in the manga and Crystal's case, they are plot devices who just so happen to be either male or female. Please stop trying to make the 90s anime sexist because men made it. That in and of itself is sexist, because it says that you believe men are just inherently sexist, so anything they make will have sexism in it, which is judging an entire group of people negatively based solely upon their gender, which is the literal definition of sexism. Thank you for once again shooting yourself in the foot, hun. You're making this far too easy for me. Just to clarify, I don't know if these really are the beliefs this woman holds. I don't know this woman. I'm just reading her comment, evaluating her arguments, and following her logic. I don't know if she's just really bad at defending the manga. I don't know if this is coming out of her simply because she's triggered or whatever. I don't know her mentality at all. All I can do is take her arguments or fallacies or statements and assess them as they are. The statements, arguments, or fallacies being presented to me are what I'm describing. And these things are fundamentally sexist, ignorant, stupid, incompetent, desperate, bitter, etc. I do not know the person making these statements. I would never arrogantly deign to know someone based upon a couple of paragraphs they wrote, which amount to a snippet in the life of a full-fledged human being. I can only describe arguments and lines of logic, and that's all I'm interested in doing. If I see a lie, I call it a lie. I don't know if this person is a liar, I just know they've said false things on this subject. I don't know if this person is intelligent or an ignoramus, I just know they're talking about things they appear to know next to nothing about. If I see sexism, I call it out as sexism. I don't know if this person is sexist really, I just know they've expressed sexist arguments and beliefs that are completely inaccurate to reality, which is pretty bad as a decision, regardless of what her intent or beliefs are. She claimed that the men who made the anime are perverted and reduced all the female characters into shallow stereotypes with zero proof. Her logic started and stopped with Sailor Moon is female-centric, men made the anime, woman made the manga, therefore anime bad, manga good, cause men don't know how to do female stories or characters. And that's really bad. I had to go after that as hard as I did because it really is that f***ing bad inherently. Like, that's astonishingly harmful and reductive of storytelling, and 50% of the goddamn human population. I had to hammer that in. So to help anyone who may be thinking SAJ is going a little hard on this poor child, don't worry, I leave all character judgments and true motives and intent to you the viewers. If you're coming away from this thinking this commenter as a person is anything, negative or positive, that's all you. Now, let's continue.
That's like when they had to have Mako fight guys instead of saving Usagi from being hit by a car.
Oh, come on, what is this? I mean, where?
Gotta have the extra confrontations and appeal as much to bros as possible. Lol.
What the hell are you talking about?
Mako fighting bad guys instead of saving Usagi from a car is bad because it appeals to boys. We're doing this again, huh? Okay then. Let's focus on this f***ing gem of an argument. Classic's choices are bad because it appeals to boys. Appealing to boys in any way, shape, or form is bad because this is Sailor Moon. There are no boys allowed here. Do I even need to say it again? I'm saying it again. This is clearly and obviously sexist. You're gatekeeping an entire gender from this franchise. You're claiming that appealing to this gender, even slightly, is a detriment to this story. Even when I can point out all the objective benefits making this change adds to the story, your counter against all that is, but men bad though. Manga stands, I'm sorry, I just need to check something real quick. Are y'all claiming her? Are you sure you want to do that? Cause if I were you, I would disavow so fast it'd make Haruka's head spin. Nah, you don't want this argument attached to you. This will be the death of you. For your sakes, I will attribute this commenter's arguments as pure fringe insanity, because there's no way you would claim a story that appeals to everyone is inherently worse than a story that appeals to girls only or boys only, and has rabid-ass fans who gatekeep an entire gender in some misguided, unhinged attempt to maintain some amorphous concept of its quality. Also, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but the concept that including action means that boys are being exclusively appealed to is reductive, shallow, tone deaf, Inconsistent with this person's earlier claim that the anime is sexist against girls, but then turns around and says including action in any story means it appeals to boys exclusively and that's bad. In essence, saying that girls cannot find action appealing, it is only a thing boys can enjoy. Is that not sexist to reduce all females on the planet to people who cannot find enjoyment in action? Or is it all of the above? Let's go with all of the above. You know what appeals to everyone equally, regardless of your genitals? Adherence to logic, internal consistency, compelling characters, intelligent writing, and entertaining storytelling. That appeals to everybody. It's why Classic has fans all across the world of all shapes, sizes, ideologies, and yes, both sexes. And it's also why Crystal is already being forgotten by the world at large. The goal should never be excluding vast portions of the population for the sake of, I don't know, a political statement or whatever the this dumb shit can be classified as. Like, what even is this point she's trying to make here? What the shit is this shit? How did you think any of this was a good idea to publicly attach to your name and specific fan community? This makes you look like an unhinged, bitter, moronic heifer with the ideological stability of a rusted and crusted over tilt-a-whirl.